Well, good day, everybody. I got a new drone here recently and thought I'd take it out this morning and videotape feeding cattle and kind of take a look at the cattle in place and so forth. And then I figured out how to add some audio to it, so that's what I'm doing right now. So you're looking at Michelle. She's got one of the Kubota tractors and our new cube feeder. Well, new last year. It's not new this year. And we're going to go out and feed these cattle in the pasture west of the driveway. That's me and the four-wheeler or the Polaris there up ahead, and we're going to open the gates up and everything. So this pasture that she's pulling into now, this west pasture, this is the only group of cattle we haven't worked yet this fall, so that's going to be next weekend. So we're going to try to probably do that next Saturday, I reckon. I got this this drone. It's easier to control in some ways than the first one I had, but it doesn't seem to have quite the same functionality. It's much less expensive. The other one still flies that I had. The other drone I had still flies, but the camera stopped working on it. And that's by far the most expensive part. So it was cheaper to just get another drone than it was to fix the camera on the old one. And this one does have, like I said, a little bit different controller in it. So it's, I think, a little bit more complex in some ways. I haven't figured everything out. But it seems to work quite a bit like the old one. Camera seems to have the same functionality and everything. So it's working reasonably well anyway. All right, so I'm going to try to get over here so you can see where Michelle's at following these cattle on out of here. I haven't flown this thing sideways too much, so I'm kind of experimenting with how she works. I'm a little bit higher than I wanted to be, or higher than I intended to be, but at least I'm not going to hit any trees that way. So this cube feeder that we're pulling on this tractor now, it's got a huge advantage in that it's got an electric motor that controls the conveyor belt at the bottom, which means you don't have to get out of the tractor to turn it on and off. And for Michelle, when she's feeding by herself, that's a huge safety advantage, because you don't have to get out of the tractor, then you don't have to contend with those aggressive animals right up next to you. And that's the most dangerous part of this for her, is trying to get out and turn that mechanical lever to turn the conveyor on when she's in the other one that's run off of the wheel on the feeder. But this one has the electric motor. It's driven off the battery of the tractor, and all she needs to do is pull a switch in the cab and it'll start dumping cubes. And that works. It really works quite well. So here she is. I don't think she's quite ready to start dumping yet, but she's getting real close. I think we've got around 75 cows out in this pasture. Most of them got a calf. We got to get out of there. Got 5 bulls out there that we need to pull off. We don't have a place to put all of our bulls, so in this pasture we've just left them in there year round. And as a consequence, we're already starting to calve in this pasture. So we probably have, there she's starting to dump cubes. We probably have 25 calves on the ground out there already. And cows are in great shape. The calves are looking good, and they had awesome grass all summer long in this particular pasture. Better than the others, even through the really dry part of the summer when we were hurting for rain. There was plenty of grass out in this pasture. This drone's got a feature on it which will stop it from going a certain distance from wherever you launched it. I'm trying to figure out how to turn that particular function off. So it goes so many feet or so many meters or so many yards from where you launched it, and then it will not allow you to take it any further from that spot. And I want to figure out how to bypass that so that I can take it wherever I want to take it. But I haven't been able to do it so far. It seems like I've got that setting completely turned off, but it doesn't act like it's turned off. It still stops me. So I'm going to be able to get a little bit closer to her here in a second, but then it'll come up and stop just like you put the brakes on. And it's also got a similar feature. When you go so high, it'll stop you. So I don't think you can get over like 400 feet high. You're supposed to be able to override all those things, but I haven't figured out just how to do that. Now you're going to see it just come to a stop right there. And that's as far as I can go from where I launched it. I launched it up by the house, and it's not going to let me go any further away from that spot. So that's as close as I can get to the feeder right now. You see Dean's house off there in the distance on the upper right-hand side of that screen. I think they were out. It's deer hunting season, so there was a lot of activity in the area this morning. I heard a shot just before daybreak this morning. Got to think that was probably an illegal shot. Don't know if they hit anything or not, but certainly was loud and got my attention even in the house. And I think she's done. She's sort of turning around. The cows stopped following her, so I think she's headed back this direction probably. I'm going to pan back around here and kind of head back down towards the gate here in a second. And you can kind of see the cattle strung out there. And they're really in good shape. They look great, and just need to get them worked and taken care of. All right, so I'm going to fly this thing back up to the gate and wait for Michelle to come through there, and I'll shut her down and open the gate up into the east pasture, and she'll drop some cubes on out there too. Before we shot this video, I guess just after we shot this video, we did a third pasture, but I only have so much battery, so I can only get about 2 of these pastures on one video. You can see me up there screaming along, headed back to the gate in the Polaris. I'm going to try to drop this drone down and get a little closer to the cattle on the way trip back up here. You can see that everything's turned a bit brown. We had frost in late October, and although we've had warm weather since, it's kind of a struggle for the grass to come back at this point. When you get out of this hybrid Bermuda grass, you get back into some of the more native grasses. They're still pretty green, but the hybrid grasses, they're warm season grasses, and they're pretty susceptible to a frost. And so I think the Bermuda grass, the really heavy producing grass, is done for the year. But we do have warm weather, and other grasses are certainly continuing to grow a bit. So I think we'll be all right. We usually start haying around. There's me. How you doing, bud? Usually start haying around the 1st of December. I reckon that's going to be probably true again this year. And we're going to have to watch the hay. We don't have a whole lot of extra hay this year. Maybe even have to buy a bit. All right, going to take her up here, and you can see, it's going to see the place right there, driveway. Cows in the east pasture waiting for their turn. And I'm just visible in the Polaris right at the very bottom of the screen there, flying her on up there. And you can see in a moment here, you can see in this big pen here, just on this side of the big shed, that we've got weaned calves in there. We've got, I think, about 40 head of weaned calves in there, along with about 3 bulls and probably a couple cull cows that we need to get taken into the auction. Then just outside the fence, and from this angle you can't tell what's inside or outside the fence, but outside the fence are cows that we weaned those calves off a while back, and we're going to be hauling those calves over to the west pasture later today. They're ready to go. They're healthy and they're looking good, and so we'll hook the horse trailer up or stock trailer up to one of these tractors and start moving the cattle over there. Probably take about 3 trips. We've got 53 head weaned that we're going to move over there, and then these 40 here we'll just leave them. And then that pasture we're just coming out of right now, there's probably another not quite 60 head that we need to wean out of there. And so we'll sell a few, and mainly we'll just keep them till spring. and get into another tax year and so forth. So here we go. Gonna get the other gate open there for Michelle in that east pasture, and close the one behind her when she comes through here. Now there you can see kind of panning up. There's the house and the other shop and all that kind of stuff. You've seen it before. Alright, so there's Michelle. She's coming through the gate. We got the feeder. She's going to head on across the driveway and hit the group on the other side there. And there's me closing that gate. And I'll jog up ahead of her. Well, not jog, but walk quickly and get ahead of her and get that gate open for her. Yeah, these east pasture, these cattle she's about to feed, there's 36 cows in there, and 3 calves that we couldn't get in when we weaned. So we're going to have to probably get some people over here on horses to get those 3 calves on up in there. They're pretty leery at this point, and I don't think we're going to sucker them up in there with feed or anything like that. They're pretty wily. But the cows are gentle enough, but those 3 calves are just a complete pain in the butt. And I noticed the cows aren't all the way up here either, so ever since we got them in and weaned them, they've been a little standoffish as well. Normally they're crowding the gate waiting for her to come in there and feed them, but they're maintaining their distance today, just keeping her safe, I guess, probably. And Michelle will probably take them on down there in the trees and drop some cubes down there. There they are. They've up to greet her now. They weren't going to come all the way to the gate, but they did make an appearance. All right. Those are the best cows we got right there. They got some tremendous heifers that we're going to probably retain out of them this past year. I really like those the calves produced from these cows and those 44 farms bulls there. Really good replacement quality heifers in there. And we're probably going to sell some of those cows in that west pasture we just came out of. There's a pretty good number in there that I don't care too much for, and they're getting some age on them. Be a good time to maybe sell off some pairs out of there. Alright, she's going to head off into the trees there. And I think I want to turn this thing around and show you a little bit more of the cattle over here. Yeah, there we go. So that's looking out across the middle pasture over towards the neighbors. And so we'll take a little trip up here and I'll show you what's going on. So yeah, so these cattle just straight south of that shed, they're those weaned calves. Many of them are off those cows we just looked at just a second ago there, headed off for the cubes there with Michelle. Then you can see just on the outside of that fence are the cows in that middle pasture, we call the middle pasture, and that includes the cows we bought from Nebraska. So there's some of our home-raised heifers out there, and then about 40 head of those cows that we bought in Nebraska, and they certainly produce some awesome calves as well. So this is just a little shot of the middle pasture, and now I'm going to show you these calves that we've got weaned. We're going to be hauling off to the west side this afternoon, where we've got some good green grass, plenty of it, and we'll put out some feed bunks over there, so we'll feed them every day and put a little tonnage on these guys over the coming few months. And we got, like I said, about 53 head in here. I'm going to drop down and see if I can't give you a little better look. There we go. Oh yeah, I think I've got their attention now. They're kind of looking at the drone, staring at it, wondering what it is. And they're all kind of clustered over in that corner waiting for some pellets. So we've been feeding about 5 pounds of pellets every day, and they know it's their turn's coming up here shortly. And what they don't know is they're going to get hauled over to the west side today, and the pellets will be a mere ruse to capture them. And it turned out pretty successful. We got them in with no hitches and got all 53 of them moved over. And we'll be